As a person who restructured NYS, I wish to confirm to the country that I am guilty. I'm guilty of thinking that I could liberate young people from the poverty of dignity. I'm guilty of giving them a dream, which they wrote in what they called the Little Black Book. And yes, I'm guilty of trying to turn them from earners of wages to owners of capital. But before you enter verdict, I invite you to consider what poverty of dignity looks like and why I made it a priority when I wrote the NYS 5-point vision. 70% of Nairobi residents live in slums. Each morning they take a polythene paper, do a long call in it, and then throw it in the slums somewhere on their way to work. This is what they call the flying toilets. Girls with unwanted babies do the same thing. At least when we were cleaning Kibera, Korogosho, and Kondole and all the slums around the country with NYS, this is what we found. And if this does not horrify the nation, then the nation has absolutely no soul. And now that the polythene papers have been banned, they are illegal, I can only imagine the levels of indignity experienced by 70% of Nairobi. This is not poverty. This is the poverty of dignity. And fixing it was my first priority when I wrote the NYS 5-point vision. NYS had two types of thieves. The first type of thieves stole money, and maybe God will forgive them. I'm not competent enough on God matters, but maybe the Almighty will forgive them because He is full of mercy. However, God will never forgive the second type of thieves at NYS. They did not steal money, they stole dreams. They did not attack the physical, they attacked the soul. And anyone who competes for the soul of man competes with God Himself. In Kibera, for instance, and other slums, the NYS struggle was a battle for the soul. Before we cleaned up the flying toilets, the only thing the women would smell was raw sewer. But after we cleaned up Kibera and other slums, the women told us that now we can smell the cooking of chapati on Saturdays from our neighbors, and the burning of ugali made out of the traditional flour that has been milled from Monday to Friday. Before NYS, they could not smell the cooking of his food. Now these simple joys of the soul, like the smell of burnt ugali from a neighbor, were taken away from the slum dwellers. And charging NYS thieves and remanding them in police cells will not bring back the joy of smelling food from a neighbor as described by the Kibera women. Here is the second reason why I am guilty. When I designed the 5-point vision at NYS, I incorporated something I call the Ting Ting movement. Ting Ting was a sound of freedom. It was a sound of dignity. The Ting Ting movement was about M-Pesa payments after a week of hard labor. Every Friday evening, the NYS youth in the slums would receive about 1,600 shillings through M-Pesa, and their phones would ring like a chorus across the slum and reverberate with the ting ting sound of an M-Pesa credit. The first time this happened in Korogosho slums, there was a commotion. The youth went wild in total disbelief. They could not believe that they had money and that they had not stolen or clobbered someone. And the girls like it that way. In fact, they would tell them, "Nakunais." And this is because in the past, the boys would only take the girls for a date after stealing. That is, the boys would clobber someone, steal their phone or something like that, and then sell it. And only then would they afford to impress a girl on a Friday. But after NYS engaged the youth in the slums, the drinks from the boys were bought using hard-earned money. and this restored the dignity of our young men and reduced crime by 60%, and that is on record. Here is a third reason why I am guilty. When we were driven out of Kibera by the corruption scandals at NYS, the youth we had recruited in the slums had saved close to 1 billion shillings. Kibera youth alone had saved approximately 300 million, and this was from a compulsory daily saving of 141 shillings per day per youth, which I had introduced in the 5-point vision. And the dream was to use this money to set up a community bank for young people. This bank would compete with M-Pesa and other agencies providing financial services. And since the Kibera youth are ambitious, they actually wanted to call their bank the Community Bank of Kibera, CBK, or the Kibera Community Bank, KCB, to imitate the big banks. The dream here was to convert the youth from earners of wages to owners of capital. And the dream countrywide was for the youth to constitute community banks all over and later merge all of them into what we called the National Youth Development Bank under the 5-point vision. Now, this dream of liberation from poverty was stolen from the youth of Kibera and from NYS. And every crime committed and life lost as a result of this theft must be placed squarely in the hands of the politicians who stole this dream. Back to the recent corruption at NYS, I had already predicted this. And in fact, I warned Parliament about it way back in 2016 when I was summoned by the Parliamentary Accounts Committee. I told them that the coming corruption at NYS will make 791 look like Sunday school offering. And indeed it happened.
But my biggest fear, Mr. Chair, is that the cartels we disbanded at NYS have begun to reconstitute themselves. The people we moved in there and we asked that they be transferred into the ministries. A good number of them, I'm told, they have all regrouped, and we seem to be going back to the model of the 1960s, 1964. And my biggest fear on that, Honorable Chair, in the interest of the public, is that if those cartels regroup, they will make 791 look like a Sunday school picnic, or make it look like a Sunday school offering.
But it is not enough to say, I told you. It's not enough. I want to offer two proposals to the President and to the country regarding NYS. Number one, the 5-point vision we designed at NYS was acclaimed internationally. The Ghanaian President borrowed the model intact. The South Africans sent a delegation to study the model. The Malawi government wanted a piece of it, and the World Bank was amazed at what we had achieved in Kibera in 8 months only. Yes, there was corruption, but there was also a winner program in the 5-point vision. And to let it die with corruption is to kill the dreams of our young people, in my view. Number two, we have focused too much on corruption at NYS and forgotten the youth. If we do not organize them, someone will. And as I noted in the 5-point vision, if we fail to regiment the youth, Mungiki, Al-Shabaab and other such illicit agencies will do it as we are chasing corruption. We must not let the opportunity to regiment them be taken away by groups that are illegitimate.